Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? NFL draft has come and gone, and one of the things that we learned here on Monday is that the Saints will not exercise the fifth-year option for offensive lineman Cesar Ruiz. Ruiz was the 24th overall pick back in 2020, and the convo that most often circulates around Ruiz, as it did the night he was drafted, is the fact that the Saints took Ruiz ahead of Patrick Queen out of LSU. And, of course, Queen has gone on to have a very good career with the Baltimore Ravens. And it was at a time where the Saints needed linebackers. I would say the thing that we learned, within 48 hours of the draft that year was, what we did know at the time, was that the Saints were going to cut Larry Warford, which they did in the cap saving measure. And they were going to be in need of a starting offensive lineman. So they drafted Cesar Ruiz. There's a lot to say about Ruiz, both good and bad. The good, for example, is the old line our buddy Mike Detillier would say all the time, the best ability is availability. Cesar Ruiz has been available during his career. As a rookie in 2020, he played in 15 of the 16 games. 2021 played in all 17 games. And last year played in 14 games till a foot injury shut him down at the end of the season. He has played in 46 games with 40 starts. He started 40 of the 46 games that he has played in, missing just 4 over 3 years. And, of course, that was really last year with the foot injury at the end of the season. In 868 snaps last year, he committed just 3 penalties and allowed just 3 sacks. Very good. Now, if you look at the Pro Football Focus overall grade for Cesar Ruiz, it's like 56. It's not very good. And maybe what we've learned about Ruiz is that he is just a good starter in the NFL, maybe never to be a dominant player. And I also think, I do think about this sometimes when we talk about Ruiz. It's how different would his path have been had he ended up playing center and not guard. Just follow me with the connect the dots if you don't remember this, but the Saints, of course, had Max Unger, who suddenly retired before the 2019 season. They draft Eric McCoy. The Saints did not have a first-round pick that year, so they took McCoy with their first pick, which was a second-rounder. McCoy was a center at Texas A&M, but could also play guard. They put McCoy in at center and then draft Ruiz the next year. And Drew Brees, who everyone thought was going to retire, made the decision to come back. Well, in Brees' final season, they didn't want to upset the apple cart and give Brees a third different center in 3 years, to go from Unger to McCoy to Ruiz. So Brees had good rapport with McCoy, and so they left McCoy at center, and Ruiz played guard, not his natural position. And what's happened subsequent is McCoy's just a really good center. So they've left McCoy at center, and Ruiz ain't a great guard. So do you upset 2 positions? Like, do you move McCoy out of his better position to move him to guard to move Ruiz to center? Like, are you lessening yourself at 2 spots if you move him, or do you just keep your really good starting center in the spot he's in, which is what the Saints have ultimately elected to do? And in starting Cesar Ruiz at right guard, they played him at a position that's not his natural or best position. So it's been a little bit odd, and I don't think it's how they had drawn it up or how they would have wanted it to go the way that it has. But it's just the way that it has. And if you're scoring at home, had the Saints picked up Ruiz's 5th-year option, it would have guaranteed him $14.17 million in 2024, his 5th season. There's just no justification to pay Cesar Ruiz $14.175 million in 2024 for a good, not great starter on the offensive line, especially when you're a team that is cash strapped and has to pinch pennies at points because of the way you use the cap, if you're the New Orleans Saints. So I understand and can certainly endorse not picking up Ruiz's fifth-year option. It's not to say Ruiz is done in New Orleans, because I think there's a really good chance he will be back in New Orleans, just not at $14.175 million in 2024. The other thing to consider is Andrus Peat. Pete is going to play 2023 on a restructured contract that essentially he took a pay cut to stay. And this is very likely Andrus Peat's last year in New Orleans. I think this illustration of Pete's contract and an aging, declining player, and then not picking up Ruiz's fifth-year option, leaves you very much open to the possibility that he could be gone next year. Now, maybe there's not a really robust market for Cesar Ruiz, and you're able to re-sign him in New Orleans at a lesser number. We'll see and cross that bridge when we get there. But if you're the Saints, you have to at least consider the possibility that after 2023, you're going to lose both starting offensive guards. That Pete is very likely a casualty, a cap casualty, and Ruiz could sign somewhere else as a free agent. So you could end up losing both of those guys on the interior. And for a team that has built its offensive line inside out, I mean, that's what the Saints have done. And I understand that for a time there with Armstead and Ramczyk, you had arguably the best tackle tandem in football. But if you go back and you think about having Jari Evans and Carl Nix and the way that the Saints have built, they have drafted interior players. We just mentioned Ruiz and McCoy and obviously Pete. It's what they've done. I mean, they have put a premium and did so when they had Drew Brees, a 6-foot-tall quarterback, where they had to make sure you didn't pressure Brees from the inside, the interior, so they built the line inside out. I think that's a big reason why they went and drafted Nick Saldiveri in this draft. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know everything about Nick Saldiveri, but what I will tell you is in the fourth round of the draft, the Saints traded up to have the very first pick of round 4 because that was the guy they wanted. And it was very heady because there were, in the next 19 picks, there were 6 offensive guards taken. The run on offensive guards came after the Saints took Saldiveri. So had they stood pat with their fourth round selections, they might not have gotten the guy they wanted. So you have to think they really like the player to have made as aggressive a move as they did to go up with the first pick of day 3 in round 4 to be able to take Nick Saldiveri. I would assume the hope is when you look ahead to 2024, if not this year in 2023, if Trevor Penning is your starting left tackle, great. You used a first-round pick on him last year. We know half his season was lost due to injury. But if Penning's your left tackle, Ramczyk's your right tackle, McCoy is your center, and you're looking at your guards, well, maybe you retain Cesar Ruiz on a lesser deal, and maybe Nick Saldiveri becomes your starting left guard. Or maybe Calvin Throckmorton takes a big step forward and is ready to be a consistent starting player in this league instead of a rotational player. I guess we're just talking through the scenarios as they could unfold. But at its most basic level, the news of the day of the Saints not picking up Cesar Ruiz's contract for a 5th year, you could look at it and say, well, he's a bust. It's a wasted pick. What you expect out of first rounders is that they are starters on your team immediately. And Cesar Ruiz has been that. He has been a starter for his entire time in New Orleans. And he has been durable and available. Even 2 seasons ago when everybody on the offensive line was injured, he was the only guy of the starting 5 that played all 17 games in 2021. So he has been available. He hasn't been great. He's probably out of position. He's certainly not worth $14 million, which is why they didn't pick up his option. But I think he still has a role in New Orleans, and maybe, hopefully, his best football could still be ahead of him. So the Saints do not exercise Cesar Ruiz's 5th-year option, but hardly means he's done in New Orleans. It's something we'll have to follow throughout this offseason and very likely next to see if the Saints sign him as a free agent or if he does walk like other former first-round picks have, most notably here recently, Marcus Davenport. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.